Hi everyone, welcome to today's webinar on Unlock the Mystery of Reading Comprehensions. My name is Ravali and I'm a part of team here at Turito. Here we have our today's speaker, Dr. Poonam Singh. This webinar is an outreach program by Turito for students to help in developing their learning skills and for parents who are willing to give their children best education. Let me offer a quick intro about Turito. Turito is an innovative e-learning platform in a vision to provide quality education to every student by well-experienced faculty. Now, Turito is available in USA, Canada, Middle East, India, Singapore, and Australia regions. And also programs offered by Turito are NAPLAN OC and for academics one-on-one tutoring services for math, science, English subjects in Australia region. And Turito is different from other edtechs which are currently existing because Turito offers interactive learning methods as per student requirements, regular assessments to track the child's progress, and also Turito provides parent app access to make you part of children's learning journey. We have top 2% certified educators who are partnered with to envision our vision. Before we start the today's topic, let me offer a quick intro about our speaker. Dr. Poonam Singh is one of the statutory at Turito. She is an holder of PhD in Literature and Languages with over 8 years of enriching experience in education industry. She is an highly passionate educator. Also, she has facilitated students for both competitive exams and extemporized spoken English. Before we start the session, all the parents and students joined to the webinar, please feel free to drop your questions in the Q&A section. We shall be answering them during the Q&A session. Thank you, ma'am. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Ravali, ma'am. And it was pleasure always whenever I come for the webinars and to able to share my views on how the education would be better for everyone who actually wants to learn. And thank you, team, for always providing me such a wonderful platform. Moving forward to know about reading comprehensions, that is the topic for today, which always is an important task and a question in the inquisitive minds, like how to understand them and how to answer those reading comprehensions well. So first of all, we have to understand what are those comprehensions. So reading means, if I could say, real reading has to do with thinking, learning, and expanding a reader's knowledge and horizons. It has to do with building the past knowledge, mastering new information, and connecting with the minds of those you have never met. And when it comes to reading comprehension, what specifically they talk about? So reading comprehension is the ability to read the text, to process it, and to understand its meaning. And it relies on two interconnected abilities. And word, which the word where we call it as reading, it's actually able to let us decode the symbols on the page that we read. And the language comprehension, which we deal with, it's being able to understand the meaning of the words and the sentences. So when it comes to comprehensions, the most important part is to understand why and how to answer. Reading comprehensions always and trigger our inquisitiveness. They always trigger our insightful mind. They let us know what we know about in the past about the same context and how are we going to drive new information and to are able to resolve it and to answer the question in the format or in the specific way that has been asked to us. Before we could talk about what different ways we have derived for the strategies that we have for comprehensions, we have to understand the different types of comprehensions. So we have 5 different type of comprehensions that we generally use and read now and then. Lexical comprehension, that understands in this particular lexical comprehensions, we have to understand the vocabulary, the words, the segmentation, the sentence framing, because that it led us to the the answer formation. It help us to preview what exactly we need to do in that. We have to preview the vocabulary before reading the story or text, review new vocabulary during or after the text. And for example, if I could talk about what do I mean by lexical comprehension, uh, there would be a word in the comprehension, enchanted. So what do I mean by that, enchanted? So I need to understand with the sentence itself if I don't know the meaning of that word in particular. So what words are most like enchanted? That is magical or funny, scary or special. So keeping these different synonyms in mind, we have to drive out of the words. When we come up with the next type of comprehension, that is literal comprehension. The word itself says literal, gives its specific meaning in different WH questions. What, who, when, and where questions. These literal comprehensions always be resolved or solved with the help of looking into the text and finding the answers of these questions which I have just stated. And these questions may be answered looking at the beginning of the comprehension, at the middle, or maybe at the end. If we have to know the chronological order of the text which has been presented. Moving on to understand the example. So who was the girl who lost in the, let's say, glass slipper? So now this answer is going to its answer is going to let me know the entire text, or to know the better understanding of those questions. So these literal comprehensions are easier than the rest of the comprehensions because they give you at times direct questions answers. But apart from literal, we have interpretive, which is quite difficult at times for the students to understand. Interpret, because every sentence is, or every particular paragraph may differ in understanding and interpretation as per as the student's requirement. So some children can interpret the context exactly the same. Some student won't understand the interpretation as differ from what the text drives. So these interpretive comprehensions also answer what if, why, and how questions. So we will bifurcate these comprehensions into different categories with the understanding of what they demand and how that demand is to be incorporated. So unlike literal, interpretive answers what if, why, and how different type of questions could be answered. So we have to here understand the facts. These interpretive comprehensions are based on facts and may help at times to infer meaning. So, like for example, how did the pumpkin turn into a carriage? So this is something, an interpretation after reading the text a child could have gathered. So this understanding of like what I am answering is the most important part in the comprehensions. Moving forward to the next comprehension, that is applied. That applied comprehensions relate to the story to existing knowledge or opinion. That always let us to talk about what we know, what priorly we know about, and what is the existing knowledge we have about that context. So it's not a simple question that can be marked right or wrong here. Challenge here is for the children to support their answer with the logic or reason. They are somewhat different from what we have understood about the first three comprehensions, because here the child is going to talk about the reasons and also is going to talk about the facts or the logic. So, for example, do you think Cinderella was wrong for going to the ball after her stepmother told her that she couldn't go? So, in this question, the interpretation is required, but the inference with refer to the reference and the fact is also required. We have to quote there some examples. So this comprehension is also somewhat different to what we have understood about the first three. Now the last is affective comprehension. When we talk about effective comprehensions, they help us to understand the social and emotional aspects. Now, when we talk about social and emotional aspect, that can be generating our any particular framework, a view in which we'll be getting the information of how things are going to be taken forward. So for example, if I talk about this particular concept, we have to preview the social aspects to ensure understanding of the plot development, or connect the motive of the plot and character development. So we have to always try to inherit two things into it. We have to connect the motive as well, and we have to also understand the character's development. Keeping these two things in mind, then we have to come up with the answers to the questions which generally these effective comprehensions ask us to answer. For example, if the question is, what do you do when you are disappointed because you cannot do something fun? Is the same situation Cinderella had, or is it the same how Cinderella reacted? So in this way, we have to, just a second. Yeah, I'm so sorry. So in this way, we have to also understand how to incorporate the ideas that we already have. How the text is going to be affected with with the understanding of or the interpretation of the comprehension that has been given. Okay. So now the thing is talking about Ravali ma'am, there must be a question the child is questioning in this box, and he is talking about something getting bored. So can you just tell me the question that he has or she has before I could go forward?
Yeah, sure, ma'am.
There was a child, I think, he said that I'm getting bored. Yes, definitely, we at times getting bored because when things are not able to, are not of our reach, we don't understand the concept. But yes, these reading comprehensions, the 5 different ones that I've explained, you every day answer that, and you always find the difficulty in answering those questions meanwhile. So my objective is to explain you what different strategies or how differentiation we put into all these different types of comprehensions when we take them forward, because every student has different ability of understanding and interpreting things. So we deal with that. These classes are absolutely child centric, and we deal with child's requirement. So definitely we will be getting to know about why things are getting you letting bored. So keeping that in mind, we'll reframe it and develop your interest in the context. Now, how to improve your comprehension skill is the most important one. So enhance your vocabulary. Now, enhancing vocabulary is again an important task, because today's generation doesn't follow a lot, or if I could say a minimal of reading. So we have to give them certain tasks wherein they learn certain new words, they apply those new vocabulary into the context. Like from like I think 8 months back, there was a word too much into the circulation, procrastination. Everybody now and then you started using that word in speeches, in general spatial get-togethers, but now that word has gone. So every now and then we have to cope with the ongoing vocabulary trend and ask questions about the text you read. Every what we always try to make understand the child, that every, like for example, a comprehension has 3 paragraphs. Let us divide into 3 and also try to understand and answer each paragraph one by one with certain questions. These help us to take the context clue, that always help us to understand, to uncover the main idea and summarize what we are going through. For example, if my text is all about pollution, that's very easy because I know about it. But what if it is about empathy? It is about a social issue, because I'm not aware of it. I don't know the taxonomy. I'm not aware of the vocabulary that has been used. So interpretation and understanding the type of the comprehension will help me to unlock that mystery. And answer each question with ease is something that we always focus by giving you the logic behind why we are only using this question and not the other, depending on the different usage of different types of comprehensions. And when it talks about the time management, that is absolutely most important, because there are certain comprehensions that we have time with, but certain comprehension that we get in the exams that are time based. So we always try to let child understand the time management. First of all, there are two ways to do comprehension: skimming and scanning. So scanning is something, if I could say, a deep thought and process which takes time. And in scanning, we have to understand every aspect of the word or the text has been written. But what we at times we do skimming. We read over the words and then try to interpret and then directly go for the questions. So skimming with specific time management is also required. We will help children here to strategize their time management and to understand how well they can use these time bifurcation in answering each and every question with a team understanding. How Turito helps become an expert in comprehensions? Yes, we evaluate current passage reading skills. We try to understand how children got the level, and then we will customize the classes according to their requirement. If, for example, my child doesn't even know the difference between skimming and scanning and don't know what are different types of comprehensions, the most important part is for me to make him or her familiar with this. And then I will take her or him to the next one. Coming with the long comprehensions will never be a solution. Coming with the smaller ones, with the first one paragraph, and then understanding the child's adaptive skill is the most important criteria. So we always try to understand the child's need at the moment. Then we try to identify and improve the gap areas, enhance vocabulary choices. For example, if the child says, I'm good in answer, like, how are you doing? So I will prefer ask the children saying, okay, how are you? If you're doing good, how well are you doing that? So, all right, I'm excited, or I did this. So little bit more of understanding how good things going to be better is something that we focus. We don't even focus on how the child is understanding, how well the child is understanding is the motive. And know how to read and understand as per the student's pace. It's absolutely depending on the child. If I am not able to understand interpretive comprehension, I will not let the child go and force understanding it. I will first let him understand the easier one, that where the direct question can be answered, because there is a level. Every child cannot be as fast as the other one. We are here to cater those things. We are here for every children, for every particular child who needs mindful learning instead of handful. Instead of getting the terms in mind, we want the child to learn the content and the subject understanding. So why we are learning from Turito? Because we always focus on child-centric preparations. We always try to avoid traditional strategy that is one size fits all, and lecture method works. We don't do that. We give equal platform for the child to speak and to talk about his or her constraints, his problems, and the areas they find difficulty in. The lectures are not going to be just teaching and after giving them assessments. We are going to take equal support and response from student in terms of activities, brainstorming games, and we also prefer children to come up with their real life experiences, because once the child is connecting the concept with the real life examples, then it is always been interesting and exciting for the students. And when it comes to what level we are going with the student, we come up with every minimal to maximum level for the student. We clear the concept from the ground level. we move on to the top notch of that level. And here it will be one-on-one session. So you will learn in live, interactive in small groups, sessions. So we give an amazing platform which generally children don't get when they are in public, in schools, in general coachings. Here we are there to help them in every whichever possible means. It's not just about reading comprehensions, it's about every four important skill that we have to develop in languages and literature, that is reading, listening, speaking, and writing. We incorporate each of this skill in the child's understanding level. Happy to see your patience listening to me. We make absolutely children exam ready here. We target comprehensive material. The resources are there provided. Apart from that, teachers, the tutors here are going to give comprehensive resources along with for the students understanding. We target NAPLAN and OC. We collaborated teaching in concepts of reading, writing, and grammar and speaking. So all these careers will be taken. It's not just taking the curriculum that we are going to follow for the region. We are also going to enroll with us.
Thank you for the detailed overview, ma'am. About the topic, we got some questions from participants. So let's start Q&A session, ma'am.
Yeah.
The question is how to increase students' reading speed.
Reading speed, yes, that's true. I think I might have talked about skimming and scanning. Scanning always takes time. Skimming is something is just reading, and children especially do that. They always read over the words and they then find difficulty. So we here let the child understand to strategize skimming. Reading skill pace is to be increased. For example, if I can give one small paragraph for a day, at least thrice if the child reads, and then decrease the intensity of reading. And then you will see that every now and then, if you can give the child any passage or a paragraph, he will improvise in reading. So initially, we have to let the child understand one concept instead of giving 10 different. So if the child gets the pace into one, then we can go to the second attempt. So I always believe in that. So start giving up the small paragraphs for the reading and you will see the change.
Thank you, ma'am. And the next question is, can we answer reading comprehensions without reading the entire passage at once, taking help of the keywords in question?
Yes, it's again with the skimming part, because anyhow we have to read at least once. So we have certain annotation strategies that we teach here as well. What is that strategy? We ask at times to children to underline the important facts the moment they are just skimming, because we can understand while skimming the context that what is important. So we can underline, we can bracket certain information, we can circle certain information. There are 3 or 4 different annotation strategies that we teach during the classes, so that you don't have to scan every now and then the comprehension. And when you look into the question by looking different ways of annotation strategies, you'll be able to answer 100% correct answer. It's tested and proven.
Yeah, ma'am, thank you. And the next question is, my child is unable to finish reading the entire passage within the time. What to do?
Within the time, I really wish if you, instead of going for the main passage, ask her to read any specific of her liking passage, any story. which she likes or he likes for the beginning, because she doesn't find interest in reading the comprehension at the moment that has been assigned. So I always prefer, at least for the beginning, give her something that she likes, any storybook, anything, and then assign a task for reading. Like, for example, give her one page for 10 minutes and ask the child to read that first 10 pages. And then to the comprehension, those are exam based.
Yeah, ma'am, we got another question. How do we understand the tone of passage?
Yes, that is what I have explained in different 5 types of comprehensions. So that definitely talks about the first important topic of, or for example, the title suggests at times most about the comprehension. So whether it is lexical, whether it is affective, whether it is interpretive, we have to understand with the very first or second line, we can able to understand with that. So if it is giving information, the facts, it is an applied one, we have to apply the facts. If it is talking about, it has different difficult language, then it is going to be the lexical one. So tone is something that at least requires one read of that passage, and then you'll be able to understand the tone.
Yeah, ma'am, the next question is for the reading comprehensions. When they ask to give a title to the passage, how to answer that?
I generally ask my students to give small title to all 3 or 4 paragraphs that they have, then generalize it with one. Never come up with one understanding of the passage. For example, if the passage is all about, let's say, pollution, you have understood it's all about affecting effects of pollution. So can we simple write the effects of pollution at the title? No, it's very simple and common. So what else we can do? Disadvantages, um, devastation created by pollution. So this can be understood by the paragraph. So small paragraphs, the paragraphs which are there as small titles will help you to give you to the best title for the passage.
Yeah, ma'am, the next question, how to get the main idea of the passage?
Main idea, yes, that comes up with the absolute scanning. One has to scan the context, and then you'll be able to come up with the main idea. You can also get the main idea once, first of all, if you do skimming first and go for the questions. Try to understand what type of question and which particular keyword they're triggering to. So if you'll be able to understand and then incorporate the skimming understanding, that comes and takes you to the idea, the main idea.
Yeah, ma'am. And the next question is how to eliminate options, especially when all the options are same.
Yes, that's the most important part, how to eliminate. We have to see the top notch answer there. So we have to, first of all, understand the elimination process. To, first of all, start with 2 examples or 2 options which are absolutely not coming in the horizon, which are somewhat absolutely different. Then you will land up with 2 more examples or 2 more options. For understanding the question, read questions once again and try to answer your question in your own mind, and then see whether out of these 2 options the answer is available, and if yes, with which. So with elimination, again, we need to have an elimination process required, and also to understand the importance of question, because at times what we do, we read the question without understanding of its demand. Like, if the poet says what style, if the question says what style the poet uses in the above text, so instead of understanding the style strategy, like literary devices, we started writing about the different sentence structure. That is something the child has to understand the question, and then the correct option is there, because there is always a clear option, but because we don't understand the question, we won't be able to land up to the option correctly.
Thank you, ma'am. And the next question is any tips to improve reading?
Improve reading, yes. I believe, because every comprehension is not the taste of every other child. So I always suggest children to read what you like first, in a day, and then go for the second comprehension, the exam comprehensions. Because at times the comprehensions that we get in exams are absolutely fact based, which never let us interest having in it. So we try to improve our reading skills with the things that we like first of all. So try to read your interest area first of all, go for the next attempt, then definitely you will improve.
Yeah, okay, ma'am. And we got one more question. Can you share some daily tips to improve reading and vocabulary?
Yes, at least one page a day. If you are interested in a book reading, please read at least one page, because at times we buy books, but we don't feel courage, we don't have courage to read that book entirely. Don't do it, because in first few days you may find difficulty to just even open that book. That task, if been accomplished, then definitely your reading comprehension will be the one that you will be able to. One page, five different vocabularies from the page that you have never read, or it's something that you always find struggle with learning. Please underline them. See how the questions been answered. Just ask 5 questions to your text: how, when, where, and who did that, and what is the response, or what is the outcome of that entire page. These 5 questions, along with 5 vocabulary, one page a day of your favorite story, will fetch you with good results in your reading comprehensions.
Yeah, ma'am. And the next question is, if we don't understand few words in the passage, any tips on how to answer the question?
Yes, absolutely. Because there are certain words which are out of the box for us. So we have to read the sentence. First sentence before that a particular word, which is inside that, and a later sentence, like 3 sentences not connected to it. Once you be able to understand the previous sentence and the at least the driven meaning of that particular one without understanding the word, you'll be able to understand. Why I'm saying that? Because the words that has been asked at most of the times are adjectives or adverbs, so or maybe abstract nouns. So these words always come up with the positive and negative connotations. So if my sentence is taking me towards negative framework, for example, so that word definitely goes for the antonym or for the negative word, so adjective. So that will help you to go with certain negative adjectives. And if it is giving me certain possibility, like some efforts or something has been driven in a positive way, then the positive connotation has been used. So that can help you for the understanding of that word, whether it is positive or a negative, and then you will be, with the help of option, able to answer that.
Yeah, ma'am. And thank you. Next question. Any tips or strategies to save time while answering reading comprehensions questions?
Yes, I always ask my children to go for always time management. And for that, we generally, because at times in the examination, we have 30 minutes of time, for example, for one comprehension to answer almost 10 questions. And that passage is too long to understand. So that time we have to avoid scanning. We do skimming with certain annotation skills, strategies. And those annotation strategies, while skimming at least once, because we read passage at least for once. So when we were doing it, we have to use that annotation strategy. And definitely with that, within 25 to 30 minutes of span of time, you will answer all the questions with 100% surety of that those answers to be correct.
Yeah, ma'am. And the next question is, any sites to practice comprehensions?
Any sites? There are multiple sites on online platform portal you'll get, but I will always suggest to go with certain that drives your board or your curriculum. And most importantly, if you can read at least an article a day, that will also help us to go for the comprehension solving, because whichever comprehensions we get in examinations are all driven from the articles that we ever read or that might have published in the newspapers.
And the last and final question, ma'am. Suggest some good books to practice.
For reading comprehensions,
Yeah, ma'am.
it depends on the child's understanding, because every child doesn't go for, like for example, 5th grader student cannot go for that book. 10 grade a book, a student cannot. So it varies multiple, child to child. And once definitely the child is going to enroll, we'll be helping out with the books according to the child's need. So for specific time, I think I cannot suggest any specific book for Go reading comprehension, but yes, I can suggest a newspaper, because this is something every child according to the grade level can work with.
Yeah, ma'am, no more questions. Thank you for answering all the questions with patience. So we'll be ending the session now, and also we'll be having session in the next coming week as well. We hope to see you all again. If you have any queries, please write us at care@turito.com. For more info, please visit our website www.turito.com. For better learning and better research, just join Turito. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you so much for having me here, Ravali and entire Turito team, and all the parents and the students who joined patiently. And thank you so much. I hope I might have been able to enlighten a little bit into your learning. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.